Brian, man, we're back to our roots. Back to our roots. Yeah, just us two.
OG, baby.
Yeah,
Just us
OG.
two.
Us two. It's it's nice. It's really nice.
It is for
So,
sure, yeah. Episode 29, the Paul Silas episode, baby.
Paul Silas, hey, father. Well, the late great Paul Silas. Now, I think it was like a couple months ago when he passed away. No disrespect to Steven Silas, you weren't that great on the Rockets, but hey, respect to your father, Paul Silas, number 29. Appreciate you. But yeah, this is Cut the Nets episode 29. We're about to be on episode 30 next week. Pretty exciting. Really excited that we've come this far, right? We really have come this far, and I'm super excited the fact that, we got our first hate comment. We're on Spotify now.
Our podcast can legally drink 23 subs.
Yeah, 23 subs. Now I can get a 23andMe, which is pretty cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude.
Hey.
And then 3 episodes later, we could have you could rent a car, which is cool.
That's
or maybe
dope.
25. Yeah, and then also gets off the health insurance, which, hey, we all hate that. Brian, I know you're 22, so you're about 4 years away from that if you have health insurance from your parents. It's painful. It really is, man.
Makes sense, yeah.
All right, welcome everybody.
Welcome, guys, to Cut the Net.
Welcome guys to Cut the Nets.
That's low-key a hot take, but I agree with it.
I don't care, Barbara. If he can't throw a football, get him
Barbara.
out the game.
In a bad way, but they're playing like nitty gritty. Like
Brian, hit the gym more. Look at that.
This guy.
Yeah. No, I'll play. Like I'm saying that Jalen Brunson will play really well in the playoffs.
Oh, then yeah, I did misunderstand you.
Yeah, you misunderstood me. In his veins. You guys haven't been relevant since Cam Newton.
We're basketball podcasters. We're not Met Gala attendees, dude.
You know what's great though? The fact that Brian is over you. He's literally over you and literally looking down on you.
Was that necessary? Really? Do you feel better
so
after having said that, Jeremy? Like, oh my God, you got embarrassed enough. Okay, I'll take the hat off. I'm sorry. My bad, guys. Here, I got a Vegas hat here. I'll put this one on. Always a great time at Cut the Nets, fellas.
Yeah, but anyways, let's get on to basketball. We got a lot to talk about. The NBA drafts just concluded about 4 days ago. Then we have trades going on already before free agency. Chris Paul to Golden State, Kristaps Porzingis to Boston, and then Marcus Smart to Grizzlies. Also, Brian, would you want someone to help Tyus Jones since it's on Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Carolina fan, and Tyus Jones went to Duke, so I didn't like him back then, but now I like him. He's one of the best backup point guards in the league. So get Tyus Jones some help, man.
Get it back to a contender or like an up and coming team. I mean, right now the Wizards are just really terrible. John Collins just got traded today for a bag of Doritos. Oh yeah, here's the updated Wizards roster, by the way. Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole. We got Corey Kispert. Remember him on NBA 2K? Gafford, that center that I used for 5 minutes if I was down by 40 against a Hall of Fame team that I couldn't beat. The only player that I'm actually really excited to see is the rookie from France, Bilal Koulibaly.
Oh, Koulibaly.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm excited. He played with Victor Wembanyama. He was on his team, so I'm excited to see him play. That should probably get people to buy tickets to see these Wizards. Oddly enough, there was some talk that the Wizards might move to Virginia or somewhere else other than DC. So, but that's speculation there.
Damn.
Also,
I didn't even know that Gallinari was on the Wizards. I thought he accepted his option to stay with the Celtics.
No, he got traded. He never even put on a uniform because of the
That's
ACL tear.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah, but he was a trade piece during that whole 3-team deal again with the Wizards, Boston, and
I didn't know
Grizzlies.
Gallinari was part of that. Yeah, geez.
Yeah, dude, he fell so hard from grace, man. I remember when he was a solid player on the Nuggets,
Legend.
The Knicks, the Hawks. He was also really good on the Thunder for a bit. So I mean, he was a really solid like role player. I would say really solid role player. But now since he's with Boston, got him to have bench support, and now he's just gone. Like he can't play right now. He had an ACL tear, and now he gets shipped off to Washington, as Meyer mentioned, a poverty franchise. But yeah, we'll be talking about that. Naz Reid, Brian, you know what Naz Reid did?
Got paid.
He got paid. I'm not saying that he shouldn't. He got paid because he's a good center. He signed an extension. On top of that, with the Timberwolves' huge payroll, with Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Mike Conley for this year because he's on that final year of his contract. Man, like, it's just a lot. Like, we're going to be talking about that more in depth. Zion's side piece got suspended from Twitter for reportedly telling the entire world that he had erectile dysfunction. Now I know why Zion is like not playing on the Pelicans right now. He's not playing basketball. He's got this issue. 2019 NBA draft is so odd, man. Only like same players are Star J and Darius Garland, along with other players who, yeah. But yeah, that's going to be our subject matter covering Cut the Nets episode 29. We hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are on Spotify as well as YouTube, and follow all of our other socials down below in the description. But yeah, let's get with the NBA draft results, Brian. Let's get into it. So, the San Antonio Spurs obviously chose Victor Wembanyama. Remember when Andy told us that like Victor Wembanyama is like gambling for the Spurs to take him was like negative 20,000.
Yes, that was. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, he was by far, hands down, the best player in the draft.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, I'm excited to see him. What I'm more excited about, Brian, obviously, is the fact that San Antonio is relevant again, and that means that Charles Barkley will be able to talk about San Antonio again, which will be nice.
Yeah, well, speaking of San Antonio, Wemby too. Like, I don't know if you saw, but he went out on a dinner with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and
oh yeah.
And he said he learned more from that dinner about the NBA than he did his whole life. But then they showed the picture of it, and Tim Duncan literally, because he has a do-rag on and he got tanner, has a beard now, literally looks like Tebow from iCarly, the man holding the bagels on his
head. Oh, yeah. You want some six? I remember that. Yeah.
San Antonio is going to be a movie now between all that. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, the draft was very interesting. I was able to catch some of it, but I saw the results. I mean, in my eyes, the top four was a lock. Yeah, Wemby to the Spurs, Brandon Miller to the Hornets, Scoot Henderson to the Blazers, Amin Thompson to the Rockets. I mean, the draft really started at 5. I thought Detroit was going to upgrade their wings. I thought they were going to take one of the best wings in the draft, Cam Whitmore. Instead, they took the other Thompson twin. But I'm sure you as a Rocket fan, I mean, I think it's safe to say the Rockets, they won the draft. I mean,
oh my God.
They got Amin Thompson, one of the better shooters in the draft. And then they got Cam Whitmore, who I don't know why he fell to 20. Maybe it was like a draft day situation where no one came to his birthday party. But he fell to 20. But no, in all seriousness, did you hear why the rumors of why he fell to 20 actually?
He was pretty much injured for most of his I believe his freshman year at Villanova, and it was a thumb injury. And so it kind of like lowered him in terms of draft stock. He also did not do well in workouts, both when it came to interviews and when it came to actually playing. So a lot of teams kind of like overlooked him because they thought, oh, he's not really the basketball player, the top 5 pick that we're looking to have on our team. And I think you, me, and Andy had this conversation about like off camera on Slack, saying that like he might be a Kawhi Leonard type of player when it comes to personality and sort of just here to play the game, and then he just lets the game pretty much speak for himself. And so what was really cool is that the Rockets were going to pick Ken Whitmore. They had sort of initial thoughts to pick him instead of Amen Thompson at number 4. Mainly because there were a lot of speculations that Amen Thompson might be picked by Charlotte or the Blazers. So like they were trying to make sure that they had like a backup option, and so they were going to trade him up and get Ken Whitmore. But they thought since we got Amen Thompson, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. It's not really possible. But ironically, no team wanted him in the first place. So the Rockets just got Whitmore gift wrapped in their hands at number 20. And
yeah, the Rockets' future is very bright.
Yeah.
Plus
no,
Jalen Green, Sengun, they got a bright future in Houston. Jeremy, you've been depressed this whole podcast as a Rocket fan. They're on the up and up.
They are. After 3 years of mediocrity or below mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's just like the Astros, 2011 to 2013, man. You just gotta trust that Houston process. I'm not gonna say trust the process because that's a Philly thing, and that trust the process thing, it's never really gonna happen because Philly is just delusional. But this is what happened. I mean, Houston won 2 championships. They have a dynasty now. The Astros. Say what you want about what happened during that time, but I mean,
yeah. So another cheating scandal. So we'll head back to the draft though. But the Mavericks. So I think there was a lot of great picks in terms of fit too. Like for starters, one of them, Cassandra Wallace to the Mavericks at 10. Great defender, can play alongside Luka if they don't re-sign Kyrie. If not, he's coming off the bench. Dallas, you saw when they got Kyrie, they traded away their best wing defenders in Dorian Finney-Smith. So I like this pick for Dallas.
Hold on. Actually, he was traded to the Thunder. Cassandra Wallace was traded to the Thunder.
Oh, yeah, he was.
And then the Thunder traded pretty much, Mitchell Robinson 2.0 to the Mavericks.
Yeah, and they got Derek Lively. Yeah. My bad. But so that was good picks for them. Jordan Hawkins, the star pretty much of UConn's magical March Madness run. He's going to the Pelicans. Interesting fit for them. I mean, I'd say the best way to describe Jordan Hawkins is a better offensively Jose Calvarado. I mean, he's not going to do all those like hide on the sideline steals and stuff, but I think he's a great defender, but he provides more offensive upside for a Pelicans team with a lot of question marks considering Zion with his whole situation. Are they going to trade Brandon Ingram or not? So regardless of the direction, I think Jordan Hawkins can help contribute. I really liked the Jalen Hood-Schifino pick to the Lakers at 17. I think that's the type of player that they needed. One of the steals overall in the draft in addition to Whitmore. I'd probably say in terms of steals of the draft, it's Whitmore 1 and then Hood-Schifino number 2. Actually, starting with Hood-Schifino, I really like those next 4 picks. I mean, the next Triple J, Jaime Jaquez Jr. to the Heat.
I definitely saw some Heat vibes with him, with that long hair and that chip on his shoulder type of mentality. So I think that he really...
I think it was 2 years ago when UCLA started clicking and whatever. He was like the main focal point. I like Brandon Podziemski for the Warriors and obviously Whitmore. Second best college player in the draft. One of the better wings. So that's another solid pick. And then Chris Murray was a good pick for the Blazers. I was hoping he'd go to the Kings so he can be with his brother, Keegan Murray, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Andy Steele of the draft, his biased Ohio State guy, Bryce Sensabaugh, went to the Jazz at 28. And then there's just a lot of guys that I had steals in this draft got picked up. The Pacers took Jalen Pickett, who got traded to the Nuggets. I saw him play a lot in college when he was at Siena, my conference rival, before he transferred to Penn State. Very, very solid backup point guard. He's not that much athletic or fast. He doesn't have this groundbreaking stuff, but he's just kind of like a bully ball point guard and kind of like a Kyle Lowry almost. So I liked him. Then my other guy that I had in the draft, one of the steals of the draft, was Isaiah Wong, who went to the Pacers. Another solid player for them from the University of Miami. And then my bias steal went undrafted, signed with the Miami Heat. Is Marisol and Patrick Gardner. 6'11" big that can shoot, making his summer league debut July 8th
Yeah,
against the
dude.
Celtics. Excited to see that. And then my Knicks, they didn't have a pick. They didn't make a trade. Pretty
Well,
much
because
2 hours of my life of scrolling through Twitter, hoping that a trade or something happened. So the highlight of my draft night as a Knicks fan was signing Obi Toppin's brother, undrafted out of Kentucky. So
yeah,
Jacob
yeah,
Toppin, let's see what you got, kid.
yeah, man. The Toppin brothers are in New York, and even though they are, you want the Knicks to trade Obi, right?
Um, yeah. Uh, I go back and forth with it. So as desperate as I am for a star, I realize that the Knicks, kind of similar to Portland in the Dame situation, finally have the leverage to determine their future instead of force feeding stuff. So I want them to make the right trade. And if Obi is involved in that, then sayonara. I mean, I'll always. You balled out in the playoffs when I was the biggest Obi hater. So you made me eat my words there in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and that's what matters most. But I guess to answer the question of what's the right trade for the Knicks, Paul George. That's my number one on my target
You've
list.
been really hyping him up too. Paul George on the Knicks. I mean, I could definitely see that as a benefit. However, I don't see it as a possibility. I think you just got to keep on dreaming. But if he was on the Knicks, hey, if you played my GM and put Paul George on the Knicks along with the other stars, they would definitely flourish. Especially when Paul George misses like 45 games in the season.
Well,
So,
so why I think it can happen is because obviously the hardest part of the trade is just making the contracts match. So, because Paul George gets like 45 million or something.
yeah,
So then you got to make the contracts match. But why I think it'd be a good fit is because the Knicks have a very young roster with depth, so they don't have to trade too much to get him in terms of assets or whatever. Knicks have a lot of draft picks. That draft picks get passed around like a paper clip. Uh, so there you can. I'm fine with trading draft picks, especially considering that the Knicks don't historically draft well. And
yeah.
there was a lot of smoke at the trade deadline back in February and leading up to the draft that the Knicks were going to get Zach LaVine. And then Zach LaVine and his camp kind of fell through because of the whole CAA thing with Leon Rose being a former CAA agent. And apparently Leon Rose is biased or favors people. So then him and his camp, or LaVine and his camp, didn't want to go there. So if the Knicks
Mm.
choose to make a trade, from what I'm hearing, they're just going to run it back with the same team. Maybe make a minor bench signing or two, like a Seth Curry. Please, 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 Seth Curry.
Seth
I mean,
Curry.
college basketball legend Fred Katz even mentioned George Niang, Torrey Craig, Joe Ingles, and Seth Curry as potential Knicks in free agency. My number one is Seth Curry. Dante DiVincenzo, I don't love, but really Seth Curry. I wanted Nas Reed if we traded Mitchell Robinson, but
Yeah, you did write an
he
article on that
unfortunately
too.
got re-signed by Minnesota. I mean,
Yeah.
if we could somehow finesse it, I would even if we get Paul George, I would even trade Mitchell Robinson and get Zubac in there and recreate the Clippers front court from last year in Hartenstein and Zubac,
I
or
do
two
like
years ago. Excuse
Zubac
me.
on the team. That's actually a really good option. I do like that on the team. You'll have not only because Robinson, all I can do pretty much is offensive rebounds and cuts.
I
Zubac
mean,
has more of
not
an
even.
offense.
Not even. It's offensive rebound and then blocks. But then his problem with his blocks is he just he goes for the block specifically. So when he goes for those blocks, the other teams, other people, just hit him with a pump fake and then draws a foul and he gets in foul trouble all the time.
Foul
If he
trouble.
doesn't get the
Yeah.
block, he's either letting up the basket or fouling. And then the other thing is Mitchell Robinson, he tries to cut Jeremy and run these pick and rolls, but he's so slow and so late to it that it's either a moving screen or the other team can recognize it and call it out, and then the pick doesn't work, and it's just a clusterfuck in the middle where you see Manuel quickly usually spin in a circle. Shot clock's winding down. You either get a dumb shot from Randall or a quickly floater that's 50-50.
Yeah,
So
you do know your Nick issues. I definitely have seen those in action, especially in the playoffs. So But yeah, adding Zubac in replace of Robinson definitely adds more offense. A lot more offense, a lot more like play calling IQ, where he knows where he needs to be, especially in play calling situations. Can set screens really well. Uh, Defense, obviously, Robinson has an upper edge, but Zubac can block shots too. Like he'll have those block parties every so often. So I think it's a benefit if they do that, if it's possible.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, I'm not sure, but I think Zubac contends or will come out to the 3-point line, which is something Robinson doesn't. So that's another thing.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll be able to have more of a threat at the 3-point line. I don't see him shooting threes that much because he's not really a 3-point shooter. But hey,
I don't want him shooting. I just want him to guard the 3.
Yeah, if he's wide open though, or if he's guarding the 3, he does a better job than Robinson. Robinson's kind of like a sitting duck when he's out on the
for sure.
Line.
But,
yeah, I mean for sure. Obviously.
I mean, good things with the Knicks though is Josh Hart extended his option deadline till Thursday, so I think his free agency starts Friday, correct?
I want to say, yeah. I mean, I honestly for some reason don't know the free agencies.
I knew it started this week. I was assuming if Hart extended his deadline to Thursday, I'd imagine free agency would start Friday. But regardless,
it's going to start soon.
Yeah, and then the Knicks, rightfully so, declined Derrick Rose's team option, making him a free agent. Best of luck to Derrick Rose, but you're not a Knick. Unless you come back for the mid-level exception, like veterans minimum, just to pretty much have a Udonis Haslem type role. Then I'll be fine with that. Basically be our assistant coach, but Josh Hart needs to come back too. I've been big on that.
Yeah, someone pick up Derrick Rose just for leadership and Udonis Haslem vibes, as well as ACL stories.
Honestly, with the way he's trending, I think, and the way this team's trending, I think a perfect team to kind of use him as that mentor role is Sacramento.
Sacramento? Oh, yeah, actually.
They're a very young team. They had their
young team, yeah.
Finally got their experience, got in the playoffs. I think Derrick Rose, who has that playoff experience, would be perfect for them, especially obviously De'Aaron Fox. I mean, they play the same position, and Fox is the star of that team.
Because De'Aaron Fox is kind of like Derrick Rose, but better shooting. I feel like that would be a really good option for him because he could definitely know a thing or two from Derrick Rose because Rose was a killer, especially when he just with athleticism and the dunking and up and under layups and changing hands while he's midair. Obviously that will be great for De'Aaron Fox. So I think I like that. I agree with that, Brian. I may not agree on a lot of things, but definitely agree on that.
I got the Gretzer approval.
You got my Gretzer approval. You got it. Speaking of trades, let's talk about Chris Paul to Golden State. So, this was really interesting to me because I never thought in my NBA watching career you would trade a 24-year-old for a 38-year-old. But if it's Chris Paul, I guess it happens. I knew that they were going to trade Jordan Poole, Brian. I knew it. I definitely knew it. There's no doubt in my mind that Jordan Poole was going to get traded. But for this, I don't know. I wasn't sure. I just thought that it was kind of odd. It fits. Brian, it fits. He can definitely be in the second unit for the Warriors, and lead the team there, especially off the bench. But for what? 15, 20 minutes a game, so he stays healthy?
Yeah, I mean, so when the trade first happened, especially considering I was with my brother, who's a huge Warrior fan, I was going crazy, dying laughing, whatever. I got, the funniest video of his reaction to it, too. But I was just on both sides, why? How does this, what are the Wizards doing? I mean, I knew they were going to trade Chris Paul, but I was I don't know. The actual trade was weird. I feel like they could have maybe got more, looked for more capital.
Yeah.
And then from the Warrior side, it's all right. But then, used my brain, sat back, did some research, and I understand why both teams made this deal. For the Warriors side,
both teams?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the Warriors side, you got a first round pick in 2030. That's when the Warriors dynasty is going to be over. So it's probably going to be a good pick. Then you get a second rounder in 2027, I believe. So like, yeah, that's whatever. But then you look at it. Naj pulled it up. The Wizards have the worst roster in basketball by a country mile. The top G League team might even beat the Wizards, honestly. Um, so then, in addition to getting your capital, what else do you get? You get a draft pick, or sorry, you get a young player that when the Wizards get good, he can still contribute. Jordan Poole is 24 years old, and Jeremy and I both know that Jordan Poole is not going to be on the Warriors next season, and I think he can be all-star caliber. Now, I'm not saying he'll be an all-star caliber. He could be. I'm still high on Jordan Poole's development. So now for the Warrior side, um, yeah, see like Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole, Corey Kispert, Denny Avdia, Daniel Gafford.
Daniel Gafford is literally like the player that's on my team and like my GM that I simulate through because the team's down by 40.
Yeah. And Jeremy, do you know who their head coach even is?
Scott Brooks? I think. No, I don't think so.
It's Wes Unseld Jr.
That sucks. You're doing your dad dirty, bro.
Yeah.
Doing your dad fucking dirty, man. Wes Unseld, a living legend. Come on, Junior.
Yeah, that's like
Jesus
I don't know, just
Christ.
such an awful team, right?
It's like Michael Jordan's kids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still high on Jordan Poole to develop, but then for the Warriors side, first of all you clear cap space by trading Jordan Poole like down the line. That opens up the return for Draymond, which they hope they can accomplish because the dynasty is pretty much, in addition to Curry, starts and ends with Draymond. I mean, he's the defensive anchor, leader in the locker room. The Warriors need Draymond back if they want to defend or contend for a title. And you pretty much go all out with that by acquiring Chris Paul. Yeah, he's one of the greatest passing point guards of all time. But he's also 38 years old, so obviously he has a year or two left playing. And
he doesn't have
that ring.
He doesn't have like the capability of playing 35 minutes a game anymore.
And that's another thing why I think it's a good fit is because, like you said, 15 to 20 minutes per game is perfect for him, and they got that. And probably he'll be the greatest sixth man of all time, honestly, from a talent perspective. Because Chris Paul, like you said, Jeremy, he can't stay healthy playing those 35-minute games anymore. And in addition to legitimately just choking, one of the other struggles with Chris Paul in the postseason is he gets hurt. So I think having a significant deduction in minutes will help him tremendously. Not only stay healthy, but he'll be more of an efficient player. Because Chris Paul doesn't need to average 15 and 8 like he did for Phoenix to get them where they were. He can average 12 and 6, which is perfect, and then that takes a huge responsibility off his hands.
What I also like about this too is the fact that he'll be a leader for the second unit, especially for all the young guys. You got Jonathan Kuminga still there. You got Moses Moody. I really think Moses Moody could be a really good player if he gets, supreme development. And having Chris Paul there, like he'll have that sort of mini rehash of what he did with the Oklahoma City Thunder, taking them to a 6th seed of just a bunch of rookie players where like the whole media, NBA, and fans expected Chris Paul to pretty much die in OKC and just not really play after he got traded to OKC with that Westbrook trade. So I think that'll kind of be like a rehash, a really good sort of mini rehash of him just coaching the young guys, having that leadership. I didn't think they really had enough leadership on the bench. Yeah, I mean, you had, of course, Draymond, Clay, Steph, the core players, but they're gunning for a championship. To gun for a championship and to also coach your young guys and develop them is kind of hard to do at the same time. With Chris Paul, he's really good at that, especially he'll be in the second unit, which will be really easy and access for all those young guys to get that leadership experience and development, especially with a player like Chris Paul on that team. So that's also
and I think it's also going to help, in addition to Moody and the cum bucket Kuminga, I think it's also going to help
cum bucket
Patrick Baldwin Jr., the rookie Brandon Podziemski, but who I think it really helps the most is Kevon Looney.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my
Just
god.
Chris Paul running the pick and roll, like,
Oh
not
dude, it's gonna
saying
be
Kevon
nice.
Looney's that good, but
It'll
kind
make
of
him
reminds
better.
me of prime DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah,
A
it'll make
guy
him
that
better for
can have
sure.
a guy that can just off the pick and roll solely could have like 8 points, like 20 rebounds, like he was pretty much doing in the playoffs. Like you see their current depth chart right there. I mean, obviously Draymond's missing from that list. In addition to Andre Iguodala, who retired, and then Dante DiVincenzo, who's a pending free agent. But in my eyes, that's still a championship caliber roster. They can definitely compete with the Nuggets and the Suns for sure in my eyes.
Speaking
Assuming
of,
Draymond's back.
yeah, so get into that conversation. He declined his $27.5 million player option. Initially, I thought that he was going to go and search for other teams and become an explorer to see if he could play for other teams. He's got his 4 rings. Does he want to just like take a step back and sort of just take a lesser job? The Rockets could really use him. By the way,
I think Draymond Green is staying in the state of California. I think he either re-signs with the Warriors, and the only reason he declined that option is because he wants something more financially stable, like long term, in case, like, God forbid, he gets hurt or something. Or I think he goes and plays with his butt buddy, his best friend, LeBron James.
On the Lakers?
On the Lakers. Considering
they could definitely use him too.
How much he loves LeBron, how much he's talked about LeBron. He even said in an interview that if the day LeBron broke the scoring title, if the Warriors had a game that day as well, Draymond would have ditched the game and gone and saw LeBron break the record in person. I mean, and it's funny too, it's like LeBron hasn't even like made comments about Draymond, so is it just like a one-sided bromance? Like, I don't even know, but
it does seem like a one-sided bromance. I mean, I really never see LeBron actually have praise for Draymond, even like during a game. I mean, it seems like just Draymond is just saying all these things of his love and appreciation for LeBron, and LeBron's just not really responding back in the comments or in a video. So, yeah, I think I did hear about that, and I think Steve Kerr instructed Draymond, you're going to stay and play a game, and if it were to happen, if they didn't have a game that day and Draymond went to see LeBron's scoring record, that would have been a little bit speculatory. It'd be kind of a little sketchy to see why is Draymond going to see a league game. I know it's LeBron's scoring record breaking it. That's him being like the number one all-time scorer in the NBA. I mean, that's anybody would want to go see that game, but like it's during the regular season where the Warriors are fighting for a playoff spot.
You got a job to do.
Yeah, so to say that out loud kind of speaks a little bit of betrayal for your team that drafted you, that you got 4 championships with, that you won Defensive Player of the Year with, that you're like the X factor for the team when it comes to playmaking and Steve Kerr's system. The Warriors aren't really playoff contenders or finals contenders without Curry and Draymond, and if either one of them leaves. If Curry leaves, their offense is pretty much taking a hit. If Draymond leaves, their defense takes a hit.
And Draymond's the voice of the locker room too. Like, it's not even Curry. So like Draymond's the one that keeps everyone in check. Like, he's the one that he's really like the quarterback of the team. Like the one that's like, or like the middle linebacker, like the one that's like always in control of everything. Like you even see even when like he's the one setting all those screens for Curry. So next to Curry, obviously, Draymond's the second most important player on that Warriors dynasty.
Without a doubt. I do see him actually re-signing with Golden State. I think they're just sort of renegotiating deals. He's 34 years old right now, I believe, so he'll probably look for like a 3-year deal in the same money range, just so that he can get like you said, financial support for the next 2 or 3 years in case he goes down, because that player option is only for 1 year, and they could just dump him if he doesn't play well the next season. So, do you want to talk about the next trade, Brian?
Yeah. So there was another interesting 3-team trade here. So we got the Boston Celtics, my rival Boston Celtics, making a splash in acquiring Kristaps Porzingis and the draft rights to Marcus Sasser In the Warriors 2024 first-round pick, top 4 protected. The Grizzlies acquiring Marcus Smart, and the Washington Wizards acquiring Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and the draft rights to Julian Phillips. So, I got a lot. I was coming back from the Yankee game on the train when this trade broke the first time, because then obviously there was it fell apart. Then I thought Boston was moving on from Porzingis, and then a couple hours later, like right before midnight or right after midnight Eastern Standard Time, the trade broke. And I was just like, wow. Like, the Celtics got Porzingis, which I think can be great for him, even despite the injury concerns that he has. I didn't love that Al Horford was playing pretty much at the 5 throughout the playoffs. Should have been Robert Williams, who they didn't use at all for some reason, or that much. So
I think he
Celtics
was
hit a little
injury
bigger.
prone too. He was injury prone. He had like some sort of like nagging injury, so they were like giving him
And then he was
minutes
sick
restriction.
too.
Yeah. So
So then the Celtics get a little bigger in size, which I love for them. Unfortunately, I wish I couldn't compliment Boston, but then they kind of so I was like, okay, what did they give up? Because this was like the second time the trade happened, and I see Marcus Smart in the deal, and I'm just like, wow, like Marcus Smart was even betrayed, like felt like betrayed, like he thought he was gonna retire with Boston. Now he's heading to Memphis. I mean, that's a nice little solid duo with Marcus Smart and John Morant, assuming John Morant plays, like, because he's going to get suspended. But
25 games. So
yeah, 25 games. But to get Marcus Smart, and Memphis is going to be a really good defensive team next year. With Dylan Brooks, assuming he's still there, Desmond Bain, Steven Adams healthy,
dude,
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Dylan Brooks is gone.
Oh, I know.
If Marcus Smart is on the team, Dylan Brooks is taking a train to Shanghai. Or the
Yeah,
Rockets, actually. The Rockets might actually sign him, which is funny to me. But
yeah, but I thought so I was just very shocked by that trade. I mean, Boston has like a plethora of guards, so like I don't think, from in terms of like depth chart and offense perspective, they still got guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Peyton Pritchard, who are like literally the fourth option. So they still have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but
should they re-sign Grant Williams?
I think they should. I mean, because Grant Williams wasn't even supposed to have that big of a role, because Danilo Gallinari was supposed to be there, and then
And
obviously
Boston
Blue
really
Eyes-
well. He did really, really well in replace of Gallinari, who was supposed to be that sort of glorified role player that he is.
Yeah, Grant Williams did well, and then obviously they have the injury concerns with Porzingis and Robert Williams, so they're definitely gonna have to be there. Al Horford, especially up there in age, but I really think, like, in addition to Marcus Smart being involved in that deal, the other interesting pick is the Wizards getting Tyus Jones. I mean, I said it earlier, he's probably the best backup point guard in the NBA, but now he's going to be starting, so I'm looking forward to seeing his stats go up. Now he's going to be a starter, and even though Washington is going to be awful, like I'm talking about, like probably the worst team in basketball, awful, I'm honestly kind of interested to see the 1-2 duo, Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole. I think they can both complement each other. Hopefully Danilo Gallinari is healthy for the Wizards, but it was a very interesting trade to say the least. There was a small part of me that was hoping Porzingis would come back to the Knicks, but Boston got him. Very interesting. But I don't know why, Jeremy, but this trade, something about it, I think Marcus Smart is going to be playing even better because he's going to feel betrayed and jealous and stuff. And I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. But I just feel like that Celtics roster is too much of a fever dream, and that they're just going to choke again and lose to the Heat 3 years in a row.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask, do you think the Celtics are going to make their way to the finals with this roster? Stephen A. Smith believes so.
They should. I mean, Stephen L. Smith, with how many awful takes he has, but I mean, they should. Like you have Porzingis, Tatum, Brown, Brogdon, Derek White, who I forgot to mention earlier. Like, this is a team you try to put together in 2K. Like, it's an amazing team, but for some reason they just can't get it done. And like, there's been moments of Jason Tatum not living up in the big moments. There's been Jaylen Brown in Game 7 forgetting how to handle a basketball, and there was
weird.
talks about him leaving. Injuries, they're getting older.
Yeah.
So like I just think that is Joe Mazzulla the guy? Like I know it was his first year and he was kind of thrown into the Wolves, but some overly championship eager, stubborn Celtics fans were already calling for Mazzulla's head. So that I think was an overreaction, but they're having that thought because they're desperate for a championship and they know their championship window. But I don't know. I mean, on paper they should win. I'd say them or Denver has probably the best roster in basketball, but for some reason they just can't get it done, whether it's losing to the Heat or they couldn't beat Golden State. So they should win the championship, but
I mean,
it's not guaranteed.
I don't know. I think from my take here, I think they just screwed the pooch in the championship aspirations. I really do think so. Kristaps Porzingis had a stat padding year on the Wizards. He was really good. Now numbers wise, played about 65 games, which is really good for given his injury profile. But it was on a team that really had no aspirations at all, so he was just playing good enough to see if he could get traded, maybe during the season, but he got traded in the offseason, along with Beal to the Suns, which I also think is just an overshot for Phoenix. But the Celtics, they give up the former defensive player of the year in Marcus Smart, the heart and soul of the team that has been to multiple conference finals and NBA finals. They've been playoff contenders, one of the teams expected to make the finals and win for the last 4 seasons, dating back to 2018, when Jason Tatum was a rookie. They're going to have to pay Jaylen Brown just about the same amount of money that they have paid for Jason Tatum. That payroll is going to skyrocket, and along with Kristaps Porzingis, that too. The thing is, with Kristaps, he's going to have to play a lot harder and a lot more agile than he has ever played, because this is his first time on a championship contender in his career. I wouldn't say Dallas, because Dallas really didn't play well with him. They played actually well without him. That's why he got traded. But with the Knicks, with Washington's maybe first round exit, with Dallas playing well without him and making the conference finals with Luka and supporting cast, this is the toughest upcoming season for the Unicorn, without a doubt. And
I agree. I mean, you saw the salaries there. I mean, Jaylen Brown 28.5, Brogdon 22.5, Derek White 17.6, Robert Williams 11.6, Al Horford 10 million. Scroll up a little bit, just like a teeny bit. And then they got
Tatum.
Porzingis 36 million.
36 million.
Tatum 32.6 million. Honestly, that's a good point about Porzingis. He for sure, this is the most pressure on him, especially with his injury history and championship aspirations. I mean, Porzingis is still going to have to put on weight in terms of muscle to really be healthy and be this anchor, because they made this trade to rely on him. I mean, their starting lineup, I'd imagine they would go Derek White moving to the starting point guard, Brown at the 2, Tatum at the 3, Porzingis at the 4, and then they should put Rob Williams at the 5.
they should.
Apparently they're saying, I think this is a Bleacher Report, they're saying start Brogdon and White.
I don't think he should start Brogdon. I like that option that he had on the bench coming off.
Yeah,
the bench there.
he won the fraudulent Sixth Man of the Year award. And I don't say fraudulent because it should have went to Emmanuel Quickley. I mean, the Grizzlies know something. They didn't, because Brogdon was supposed to be a part of that deal instead of Marcus Smart, and they're just like, no.
He was actually going to the Clippers, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was going to the Clippers.
And the Clippers saw his injury history and it was like, no, we're not going to do this trade. We're backing out.
Yeah,
this was originally.
We already have injury history. Look at the Clippers roster the past 2 years.
Yeah, we're not going to. I don't want to deal with a third injured person along with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So, like, that's why the Clippers backed out. You could clearly see because Brogdon tore his ligament in his arm, right, in the playoffs.
Yeah, and also, Brogdon was the first Sixth Man of the Year winner to play less than 75 games. So that's another reason why I think it should have went so quickly. But like obviously that injury history, that's why the Clippers backed out of the trade and they had to get a different team in, which was the Wizards.
The Wizards were actually in the trade already.
Or sorry,
it was a 2-team deal. Not a 3-team deal. Yeah. No, it's a right forearm injury that he tore ligament. So will he have to recover without having surgery, or will he have to have surgery? Who knows? I think he's perfect as the sixth man for the point guard position. I think they should slide Robert Williams as a center position. I think that would create a lot more spacing for Porzingis to kind of be like a pick and pop shooter, as well as him getting defensive help from Rob Williams. Because Porzingis, he can block shots. Don't get me wrong, he can. I just don't think he has good enough defense like they had with Marcus Smart.
Well, I just think it's because he's not big enough to play the 5 for that reason. I think that's why he should be the 4, have Robert Williams at the 5. But honestly, though, one thing I'll positively say about this trading for the Celtics is Porzingis as a third option is scary. Like,
if he's healthy. If he's healthy,
that's a huge knock. But how do you even game plan for that? It's like, do you try to just let Tatum and Brown do their thing and prevent anybody else? Like, Porzingis can easily hurt you for 25 a night.
Yeah, no, he definitely can, especially if he's healthy. But Marcus Smart hasn't really had any sort of significant injury in his career. Yeah, he's missed
and
some
he's the
games.
defensive anchor. He's he's kind of like the Draymond of the Celtics. He's another leader in the locker room too.
Besides Rob Williams, where do you find the defense?
Currently with that roster that Najee showed, they don't. I mean,
they don't really have anybody to sign
White's a good defender, but he's not an elite defender like Marcus Smart. The Celtics need an elite defender. They want to win. They can have all these cute, amazing offensive players, but if they don't have another defensive anchor to pair with Rob Williams, the championship window isn't
as big as it seems.
Yeah.
Which is why we'll switch to the Grizzlies and why I believe the Grizzlies are your 2024 NBA champions. Here's why. Here's why they are your 2024 NBA champions. They have, when John Morant gets back, they have the most complete starting lineup next to the Denver Nuggets. If the Nuggets actually re-sign Bruce Brown, which I don't think they will, because Bruce Brown, without them, their defense will falter. Which I think a lot of teams will definitely throw money at Bruce Brown. With the Grizzlies, you've got John Morant, Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., who's also Defensive Player of the Year last year, and then Steven Adams. The only thing that really occurs to me that needs to happen for the Grizzlies, John Morant's got to have a good track record off the court. Steven Adams needs to stay healthy. And there you go. You got a solid starting lineup. The only thing that they really need, though, is a backup point guard. That's what they have to search for. And also, is Brandon Clark going to be available? Just as good as he was last year before tearing his Achilles. Those are your two questions. Two questions that the Grizzlies need to answer in the offseason. But this is a great trade for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Jeremy, are you a little biased there? Are the Grizzlies your secret second favorite team? You had them winning the finals this year. You have them winning the finals next year. I
didn't know about the John Morant off the court issues. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Listen, I think it's a respectable take. I see your opinions, but I think just what you're asking is too tough of an ask. John Morant. We established this throughout the pod. His apology wasn't insincere. He wrote on ChatGPT. He beat up a 17-year-old. He flashes guns like it's a Nerf gun, like he's this cool dude.
Did you hear what I just said? If everything goes right, if Morant off the court issues stay in the back burner, if they don't make another appearance, the Grizzlies are NBA Finals champions.
Yeah,
Here's the
but
thing,
even
'cause-
like I heard that. It's just like a big if. Like unfortunately, Steven Adams has dealt with. He's been plagued with injuries throughout his career too, and I mean, um, I don't even like. At best, I'd have the Grizzlies fourth in the West. At best,
I don't know. I don't think so.
I would take.
You got Marcus Smart, man. Who's
That's true.
Look, they're gonna struggle a little bit. Marcus Smart's gonna lead the way, in the backcourt, along with Desmond Bain. They're gonna struggle a little bit, but then when Morant gets back, come was it like New Year's, January? They're gonna come back, or December,
November, December.
around the time, around Christmas time, when Morant gets back, the Grizzlies are gonna be gunning for the first seed.
Yeah,
Actually,
but still-
you know what? I'm gonna say they take the third seed. That's what I'll say. Third seed. Nuggets.
Well, I just think
first seed.
because I would still take Denver over them. I think that
They didn't play Denver in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Suns are going to improve their bench, and they're going to be right there. I think they're a championship caliber team. And if the Warriors bring Draymond back, I would also take them over the Grizzlies. Because my thing, too, is when Ja comes back, yeah, that starting lineup on paper is very good. But what are you going to do? Are you going to have Desmond Bain be an undersized 3? I like Luke Kennard and a healthy Brandon Clark, but their bench, other than that, there's not really many game changers. I mean, I think the Grizzlies can be a second round team, conference final team. Obviously a huge improvement for them, but I just don't know. I think they're in the same boat as the Kings kind of. The Kings, you can even make the case could be ahead of the Grizzlies. I mean, it's just like they got this new team, and whatever. How is Marcus Smart and Ja, are they even going to click and play together? So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of what ifs. I think I need to see how the season goes, and how this new team gels together before I put any label on them winning the championship.
I just really see it in them. I do. I like Marcus Smart's play. He's going to have more of intensity with the team. As soon as Morant left or had issues off the court, and then you had Dylan Brooks just be a complete idiot. I think that'll really change the culture of Memphis with Smart on the team. And as you mentioned before, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder because he thought he was going to retire as a Celtic, and now he's not. So with that in mind, you have also, again, Jaren Jackson Jr., 2 defensive players of the year. Like, you can't beat that. I see.
Yeah, but I'm still very wary of John Morant, just like his off court stuff. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, it's bad. Like I think 25 games should have been higher.
Well, maybe this is the reason why he got, he got a second wind. A lot of our writers in BSP said 41 games, half the season. So some media analysts said, yeah, he should get a 41 game suspension. But due to this happening, Marcus Smart getting traded over, they have a second wind towards them, and I think that'll really give them a boost towards becoming the best in the West next year.
Well, another thing too is that I want to know is John Morant going to come back? Like, what's the vibe going to be look like? Like, are they still going to respect him? Still kind of view him as like a captain type because of his personality issues and stuff like that. But one thing I will say though, and why I love Marcus Smart from the Grizzlies, is because yes, Dylan Brooks is gone, just because he became too much of a villain where his game wasn't doing the talking, but Marcus Smart still has that tough guy swagger and knows how to do it right to his advantage and getting ahead of other teams. And honestly, with the type of players and the way Memphis plays, they still need that. So, yes, Dylan Brooks is obviously gone and he's whatever. But I think they still needed that type of swagger, and I think Marcus Smart is perfect for that reason.
All right. Well, we have agreed on some points, disagreed on other points. Obviously, the Nuggets do have a lot of leverage, especially with their championship win this season. So, you want to move on to another topic?
Yeah, you want to do the trade that happened today?
Yeah, dude. Let's do it. John Collins traded for a bag of Doritos. All right, that's it, guys. That's it. No, but really, John Collins was traded to the Utah Jazz, for Rudy Gay. In 2015, if I saw this, I'd be like, yeah, the Hawks got a really nice piece. And a second-round pick. Rudy Gay. I thought he was out of the league, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this was the easiest way to describe to someone a salary cap dump. I mean,
Yeah.
the Hawks finally are under the luxury tax, which is huge for them. Obviously, this roster is nowhere near ready. They're still going to make deals. John Collins, I feel like, has been in the market for the trade market for 2 years now. I mean, like that headline says at the bottom, the departure also opens up opportunities for forward Jalen Johnson to take on a more prominent role. He's kind of a breakout caliber, and I feel like John Collins to the Jazz has been a rumor for a while too, because I saw a tweet from Woj that says the deal to acquire Collins delivers the first Jazz a versatile forward to play alongside All-Star Lauri Markkanen and All-Rookie center Walker Kessler. The Hawks and Jazz have discussed numerous iterations of the deal for over a year, so clearly there was interest. And I think, listen, the Hawks get Rudy Gay, who's like whatever, just I guess like a decent backup, nowhere near the player that he once used to be.
Might be a buyout, honestly.
What?
It might be a buyout.
Yeah, he used to be a solid defensive player, or above average defender, but then he had a
legend.
Yeah. But then he had a defensive rating of a 116.5 this year, which is one of the worst in the league. And I honestly think this is a good fit for John Collins. I think that he needed a change of scenery because he was starting to become underappreciated in Atlanta. He was no longer what he was his first couple seasons there, and I honestly kind of because John Collins has become a better shooter, so I'm kind of liking John Collins at the 3 in Utah. You can pair him up with Markkanen and Walker Kessler, who's literally becoming the next Rudy Gobert. So I like this move for both teams. Atlanta needed salary cap and it dumped Collins, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I feel like Danny Ainge is kind of like the GM who was like, oh, you've got a contract issue? Oh, let me actually, you know what? We'll take him. We'll take him off your hands. You don't have to worry about that money anymore. And then, like, when the season starts, John Collins, his points per game increase, his defensive rating increases, his plus-minus increases. Like, the Jazz know exactly what to use when they put in John Collins. I see, with this trade, I see the Jazz as a surprise team. Like, the surprise team of the West when it comes to play-in tournament specifics. I don't see them...
Last year they were first in the West for like 2 months before they came back down to earth. So I don't think that's a hot take if you calling them there's the surprise team this year. I mean, Collins, Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler.
It's a nice lineup.
It's very underrated
young,
starting five.
Low-key experienced, I would say.
Yeah,
it's a solid lineup. I mean,
the only thing I would change is probably switch Markkanen and Collins, but
I see a lot of 85 overalls all around.
Yeah, I mean it's a solid team, and even with picking up John Collins, like you said, it's a young roster, so there's not really any cap issues. I also forgot they have Nick Killer, Kelly Olynyk, who is only $3 million of his $12.2 million salary is guaranteed. So there's a lot of flexibility here. As for the actual trade itself, I'm sick and tired of Danny Ainge being insanely good at his job. It's very
He's so
frustrating
good.
as a Knicks fan.
Yeah, just with
Got screwed
Boston
out
too.
of Donovan Mitchell, robbed the Timberwolves of Rudy Gobert, robbed the Cavaliers for Mitchell. Like, obviously Mitchell's a superstar, but just what they got.
Even when he leaves Boston, he still fucks with the Knicks. I love it.
Yeah, so
Nice reaction. Oh man, no, I think it's a good trade.
no, it is. It is.
Let's talk about extensions here. Naz Reid signed a 3-year extension. I'm sorry, Brian. I know he was your guy. You wrote an article about him possibly making a Knicks uniform.
I did. I wanted him to come home, man. I really did.
Yeah, but you got Naz Reid. 3 more years, or was it like? Was he? I forgot. I don't know what his contract was before he signed the extension, but he's got an extra 3 years on his deal with Minnesota. The thing is, if you look at that contract and look at the overall contract salary distribution with the rest of the players, it is stupid big. Like, it's nuts. Like Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, along Mike Conley alone, you got so many players who have these ridiculous contracts, and it's only going to increase. You got Karl Anthony Towns making $60 million in 26-27, along with 64 and 27-28, just continuing to increase as the years go by. With this, you got 5 players with at least, well, actually 3 players with at least $40 million total contract.
Yeah, but you had to give me a minute because I'm a writer. I'm not a math major, so I had to do the math. But Jeremy, what position is Rudy Gobert?
He tries to be a center.
What position is Karl Anthony Towns?
He gets placed in the wrong position, but he should be a power forward.
And then what position is Naz Reid?
A perfect center.
So you have 3 centers on their team. You look at their remaining contracts: the $131.4 million for Gobert, the $270.5 million for Towns, and the $42 million for Naz Reid. You do the math. The Minnesota Timberwolves, till Cat's deal runs out in 2027-2028, are paying their 3 centers $406,271,760.
How many times did it take you to insert that in your calculator?
Once.
Okay, I was just making sure. You said you weren't a math major, so.
Yeah, I just, you had to give me a second. I couldn't do that mental math off the cuff.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. But no, yeah, you're totally right. This is too much money for three forwards, 3 big men. I mean, we already talked about like how atrocious Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns' fit was on the team, especially last year. But given their contract, it's even worse. And with Naz Reid, neither of us are disrespecting Naz Reid's talent. He did really well last season. I believe like near 12 points, and I forgot what rebounds he had, but he was a very, very good player with Minnesota. With that, I mean, honestly, Anthony Edwards is the focal point of the team. He's only making $13 million on his rookie deal, and becomes a restricted free agent next year, or the year after 2024. But you also have Mike Conley making $24 million. Like, man,
it's getting
nuts.
worse. And it's getting worse after this year, because Mike Conley is a free agent. He's not coming back. They can't pay him.
No.
Honestly, they should even, because their bench is super suspect, they should even try to trade him. Then you got to pay Anthony Edwards.
Don't they have like $5.85 million until they hit the luxury tax?
Yeah, they're 5.8 million space below the luxury tax. They have $136,000 in salary cap right now, and I mean, that's just those 2. You still got Kyle Anderson, who's a free agent after the season. Taurean Prince, non-guaranteed free agent after the season. Jaden McDaniels, free agent after the season. Wendell Moore Jr. has a team option the next 2 years. Jordan McLaughlin, non-guarantee. Nathan Knight, team option.
You have a lot of questions to answer next year. A lot of questions to answer.
Yeah, I don't know what this Timberwolves front office is doing, but just considering what they traded for Gobert, and then now you add this Nasri deal and whatever this failed Towns Gobert duo, their front office, their GM might need a Chuck E. Cheese application soon because I don't think he's going to be with Minnesota much longer.
Chuck E. Cheese jokes. I mean, jeez.
You like that?
Yeah. You always make one every single episode now.
Yeah, because there's always just bozos that we're talking about. Like,
you're not right. You're not wrong about that. This just really. I don't know, man. Like, if the Wolves are on the 8th seed again this year, all these contracts they don't mean anything. They have to be better. They have to not make the play-in team. If they make a top 6 seed, then maybe these contracts work.
They're literally like the Patrick Beverly meme. Like, it's like, oh, cool, we got into the playoffs. Chuck the jersey into the crowd. Like, I don't know, like, how much because, like, I don't know, Jeremy. Like, you look at that spreadsheet of that salary, and you look at Cat, Gobert, Anthony Edwards. It should be championship caliber. So, like,
it should be.
Sure, like, they finally get outside the play-in and they're a 6th seed and still get eliminated in the first round. That still has to be in their eyes a disappointment. Like,
it's the best they could ever do since Kevin Garnett.
I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say that.
Nice. I mean, you're not wrong. Was that Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah. You didn't have to go there.
Go there? I mean, you're not wrong. Nice.
I mean, it's like their front office. Like, for another Steve Day, like, to stay off the weed. Like, I don't know what, like, Nikhil Alexander-Walker is, like, a free agent, like, a restricted free agent currently. Like, they're just going to send plumbers at this point to be on the bench. Like, they are becoming the Phoenix Suns in terms of not having a bench. Like, it's just poor roster construction at its finest. You saw Cat and Gobert didn't work. Trade one of them.
How? Who wants either player? You got one player with a zesty-ass voice, and then you got the other player who is like 32, 33 years old, was probably one of the most overrated defensive player of the years ever I've seen in a lifetime. Trust me. Like, I saw the Houston Rockets just pummel the Utah Jazz in consecutive seasons in the playoffs, and he couldn't do a damn thing. So.
Oh, no, I agree with you. No one is going to want Gobert, but I think Towns still has a lot of.
I'm just kidding. Towns is a very talented player. He just, a little zesty sometimes.
Yeah, he still has a lot of. He still has a lot of value. I mean, he's 27. He's just entering his prime.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's being misused in Minnesota. So he should get out there. I think it's for both teams' interest. I mean, listen, Towns is still locked up. You still have Gobert for a couple years, but, like, I mean, unless they can't. I mean, I think you got to another team. You got to evaluate and see where you are. You get to the mid-season point because you're gonna have to pay Edwards, and I don't even know if Minnesota can afford to do that.
Rookie deal, a high rookie deal, especially if he's a restricted free agent. I mean,
well, no, he's not. He's just a normal unrestricted free agent. He doesn't have an option or anything.
Has an option? Nothing. So he's a UFA. Damn. Okay, that's even worse.
So I think you got to evaluate yourselves. And like Jeremy said, if you're not a I'm not even giving you the plan. They can't. If you're not a 1 through 6 team, I think you hit the reset button. You trade Cat, re-sign Edwards.
Yeah. If you trade Cat, Rudy Gobert will be almost as good as he was on the Jazz, even though I did, knock him down for being terrible against the Rockets. But he was Defensive Player of the Year because he had the whole rim to himself. And if they trade Cat, they'll have a lot more spacing inside. And they'll probably exchange that trade for a bunch of shooters that they desperately need. Here's my take, though. Like, this one little final say. You mentioned the bench will look like the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns could walk, so Minnesota could run. bench wise. Like that's how I see their bench in the next year or so. Because if they want to, here's what I think they'll do. They're gonna try to keep Gobert and Towns, obviously, and then they're gonna try to attempt to keep Edwards. So you'll have 3 players making at least $40 million a year, and they can't even fill in the space to get quality role players to support them. We'll just get veteran minimum contract players. D Rose, you're making your second stint on the Wolves next year.
Yeah, and then really with the salary shithole that they're in, it's not like they'd have to rebuild their bench by their draft capital. But you know what, Jeremy? It's hard to do because they have their first-round pick next year, and then after that, their next first-round pick is in 2028.
Yeah, they're from 2025 to 2028 is going to be some dog days for Minnesota, for sure.
Yeah, like they should start studying tape from Houston because they're gonna be the next Rockets for those 3 years.
Yeah, and we'll be back in the playoffs, baby. Be back in the playoffs.
I hope, considering the draft you guys just had.
Oh, dude, we will. We will. Man, Thompson's going to be a phenom, especially on the defensive end as well as facilitating.
Next to James Harden, I love it.
I don't think they're going to sign James Harden. However, there's still reports on that, but there's also reports on James Harden going back to Philly, which I actually would want because we have such a really good core with us. Such a good core. I mean, the players that won't get enough minutes now are KJ Martin, Jayshawn Tate, and Josh Christopher, which will be great trade assets for a solid veteran. But I wouldn't want Harden because Harden will want a lot of money. So
okay, so I still think the Rockets need a veteran, but
yeah,
I don't know if James Harden is the right veteran. Like,
I think Brook Lopez is a really good one. Like, there's a lot of talk about,
especially considering Sengun was the worst defender at his position last year.
Yeah, sadly he was. The thing is, if they sign Brook Lopez, Brian, where is he going to play? Off the bench? I don't think he wants to do that.
No, especially no. The only way.
Yeah,
man. I don't know. I think you trade Sengun. Like,
no, nah, we're not doing that.
Where didn't you not used to be a Sengun guy?
Well, I was back and forth because now This was before Harden, and also before we got the 4th overall pick in the lottery. This was the Victor Wembanyama best case scenario option. If we got Victor. Which now I don't think. I think Victor would want to leave. He would play the whole Charles Barkley role in Philly, to where he did not want to play in Philly, so he'll purposely play bad for us, and then we'll trade him, and then I'll blossom another team. Because you saw in the draft lottery how he was so relieved that Houston did not get the 1st overall pick. He was a Spurs fan through and through. So honestly, Victor, you can go fuck yourself.
Well,
that's just my mind.
You want the Rockets to be in the playoffs this year, or do you still want them to wait it out and just show growth?
I want them to show growth. I want them to win. If they win at least 28 games next year, or this upcoming season, then I'll see that as an absolute win. Because it'll show growth. I mean, you saw Jalen Green. He put on some really good weight over the offseason. Amen Thompson, like I said before, has potential to be a playmaker and a two-way player as well in that right. Cam Whitmore, who's really good off the cut or cutting to the basket as well as three-point shot. He has an injury-prone history. That's probably why most teams didn't pick him. But then you got Jalen Green, you got KPJ, who's possibly a 6-man, Şengün, who can definitely play well off of Amen Thompson as a secondary playmaker. Jabari Smith is probably going to play really well. He'll have his sophomore boost. I mean, he was playing really good down the stretch in his first rookie year. So I really see this Rockets team really just hitting its stride, playing really well. Not necessarily a play-in tournament candidate, but if they were, hey, best season yet.
That's
Yeah, I
how
mean,
think.
so then I think you answered the question about should the Rockets get Harden, because Harden's going to go to the playoffs. He'll take you guys to like a play-in or the playoffs, whatever. I
Yeah, but
because
I just think that he'll just take minutes away from players who need it, and
no,
also
exactly. So then no, because by you the way you answered that question, you said like I don't want to make the playoffs right now. I just want growth and guys to develop, which I think is perfectly understandable, and I think that's what they should do. Um, because if you get Harden and you get the play in, what's really the point besides snapping your playoff drought? I mean,
yeah,
you're taking away minutes from the young guys. It's very Tom Thibodeau esque if you
yeah.
guys get James Harden.
Harden's also ringless, so I don't think you'd want to be in a team that just looking to have growth as a team and team chemistry.
I agree, but for some
Improvement.
weird reason, he really misses Houston nightlife.
He misses the strip clubs, man. He misses the strip clubs. He misses going to Post Oak, hanging out with Drake, and she just misses that. Uh, I saw Ken Whitmore at Post Oak today. Not today. I saw him yesterday at Post Oak. Post Oak is like the richest hotel and the most glamorous hotel in the city of Houston.
What were you doing
Uh,
there?
I was I have a friend who's a bartender there, so I was just kind of seeing her and stuff. So just hanging out. I mean, I don't really go there very often because valet is like $30, and like you can't park your car. It's valet only.
Jeez.
And the drinks are like $20 a pop, especially the cocktails. So I just went and said hi, and had one drink. But yeah, I saw him there, and like just like oh shit. And then I saw him take a story on Instagram, and he was like at the pool side of the hotel, and I was like, yep, it's Post Oak, definitely. That's definitely Post Oak for sure. So he's already getting acclimated with the Houston nightlife and lavish lifestyle that Houston Rockets players have here. Şengün, dude, I had. You want to talk about anything else before I have to talk about this segment real quick?
I mean, we covered everything. So
Honestly, I don't really. Honestly, I don't think I want to talk about Zion's side piece. I mean,
yeah, no, we don't need to.
yeah. All right, resetting. So, personal story. I was hanging out with a friend of mine about 2 days ago, and he was telling me how he knows a girl who had a thing with Alperen Şengün. Because Şengün last year was like partying a lot apparently, and was like hanging out with a lot of girls that my friends know, like 2 degrees separation, and how he like saw that her friend or his friend was like kind of sleeping with him and kind of like hanging out with him, and he was kind of living a lavish lifestyle. So speaking of that, Alperen Şengün is it's kind of a party animal from what I hear in the city of Houston. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, he's Turkish, so like what do you expect? If you're Turkish and 7 foot tall, like I mean, you're already like instant chick magnet.
Yeah, I mean, that's good for Şengün.
Yeah, man, he's 20 years old, so definitely needs that Houston Houston nightlife, if you will.
I mean, he's not even legally able to drink.
No, but I'm pretty sure he gets shots in,
Hey, a month. A month
Bartenders
maybe.
don't care. Yeah, in a month, but like bartenders don't care. He's a Houston Rocket. Like, come on, he's 7 feet
That's
tall, or 6'10", around that.
6'11", yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we can go ahead and conclude it, right? We can go ahead and end this EP.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for watching Cut the Nets episode 29. This is the what was the jersey again? I forgot.
The what?
The jersey, episode 29.
Oh, Paul Silas.
Paul
The late
Silas,
great
that's
Paul
right.
Silas.
The late great Paul Silas, episode 29. Steven Silas, I hope you're doing well. Hope you get a decent. I think he actually did get a job as an offensive assistant coach under somebody. But that's not here nor there. We have Ime Udoka on the Rockets, so we're doing great things. Headed to greatness. Greatness is definitely coming. But thanks so much for watching. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. Also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Spotify as well. For me, Jeremy, and Brian. And thanks, by the way. Thank you, Naj, for producing. Also, Zach couldn't be here again, so Naj is producing. Najwan Wilson is a back sports page writer. He covers the Pick Sports Steelers and Miami Heat. Thank you for producing our show. We really do appreciate it. Anything you want to say? Any shout outs? Anybody want to do a shout out before we go?
I want to shout out the Miami Heat. Once again, I think we had a phenomenal draft. We had a phenomenal draft this year. Considering we are the undrafted kings, I feel like we always find gems. So we'll see next season if it pays off. But UCLA player in particular, he kind of got the same mold as Jimmy Butler. So that's going to be interesting to see those two on the same court together.
Awesome. All right. I want to shout out Zion's girlfriend or side piece getting suspended from Twitter. That's all I'm going to say. Actually, no. Shout out Elon Musk for suspending, what's her name?
Mariah Williams.
Mariah Miles or whatever. Yeah. Shout out because she's apparently
Mariah
getting
Mills.
Mariah Mills getting the fact that Zion was going. She was going to threaten to leak sex tapes with Zion, but that's all I'm going to say. Shout out to Elon Musk. Yeah, and erectile dysfunction too.
Oh, Jeremy, I got one more thing to add too. This has been surfacing about Mariah. She also just got Zion's name tatted on her face.
Yeah, that's right. Literally. She got her.
So that just adds a little bit more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, she literally got it like right here or something.
Dude,
right by her
what is she on? She's crazy, dude. Like, stay away from those women, Zion, and stick to basketball. Like, Pelicans need you. You're our number one overall pick. The Pelicans need you. Find a good woman, get married, do like Steph Curry or LeBron James, follow in their footsteps. Well, maybe not Steph Curry right now, but just follow in their footsteps, and you'll be able to play better. Not have a woman like this just leaking you out onto social media, and especially with all those like text chats on Snapchat and whatever. So, yeah, shout out to Elon Musk. Brian, any shout outs?
I'm gonna shout out Seth Curry. Hopefully that you become a Knick. Josh Hart, I hope you re-sign with the Knicks. And then there's one other person that I haven't shouted out in a while. That Naj, if you can pull up, I just sent it. But there's another guy that I'm shouting out. That man.
Bro, that outfit though. Oh, he looks like he's about to go help you sell your car.
Dude, the Twitter memes about it were hilarious.
Or like he's like a life insurance agent or something.
No, he looks like a
high school basketball coach.
He just got out of his State Farm shift and he's getting ready to go play at Dyckman Park.
Hey, you know who else he looked like? He kind of resembled Coach Carter.
Coach Carter, yeah.
Coach Carter, yeah.
Oh man, Carter. That's awesome. Well, with that being said, we appreciate you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time on the next Cut the Nets episode.